Hello, City of Yucaipa, California, and beyond. My name is Andrew Russ, and I'm a registered dietitian working with the City of Yucaipa to bring you a series of 3 healthy cooking videos. Today I would like to teach all of you how to make my famous Southwestern Black Bean Soup. This is a simple recipe that can be prepared in less than 30 minutes and tastes great. For those of you at home that would like to follow along, the recipe can be downloaded at the following link. The first step to preparing any dish is remembering food safety. As we go along in our demonstrations, we will discuss the proper precautions that should be taken to ensure our food is safe to eat. The first step towards food safety in preparing any dish should be to wash your hands thoroughly. Lather up your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. One way to pass the time is to sing happy birthday twice, but for copyright reasons, we can't sing happy birthday today. Once that's done, rinse off your hands with the hottest water you can stand, and then dry your hands. Now we're ready to begin. Let's start off by making sure we have all the ingredients we need. 2 cans of black beans, 1 can whole kernel corn, 1 7-ounce can diced green chilies, 1 1/4 cup vegetable broth, 1/8 cup of mozzarella cheese, half of an avocado, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 medium tomatoes, 1/2 yellow onion, and 1/4 bunch of cilantro. After checking my ingredients, the next thing I do is prepare my vegetables. The first vegetable we have today is an onion. The safest way to cut an onion is to first remove some of the outer layer of the onion. You could pull loose pieces along from the stem and pull towards the bottom until we get the outer layer that's brown off of the onion. You want to get this clean before you introduce it to your clean cutting board. Next, we want to take a knife and cut off both ends. Now, whenever we cut, we want to keep our fingers up and out of the way. We don't want to keep our fingers here where it's easier to get them cut. If we keep them like this, there's less area to cut our fingers. So cut off both ends. And we make a slit down the side. And we can pull off an outer layer of our onion. And we know we have nothing but a clean onion. Now today, we're using half of our onion. So the first thing I like to do is make the marks that we want, so it'll be easier to dice. So I cut halfway through the onion once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Now I go ahead and I turn this onion sideways, and as you cut through it, it'll basically be already diced. The next item we need to prepare is our corn. Simply open the can, retain the lid, and pour out the liquid. It's important to note that before doing this, you need to clean the top of the lid. Otherwise, you can introduce bacteria and other dirt when you're draining out the corn. The next thing we need to do is go ahead and measure and warm our olive oil in a medium pot over medium heat. So we'll turn on our heat, and we'll measure our olive oil. And we need 1, 2, 3 tablespoons. The corn, onion that we just prepared, and we'll cook this until it's brown. While our onions and our corn are still browning, we can go ahead and get started on the next portion of our recipe. For the next part, we'll need 1 1/4 cups of our vegetable broth. We'll need our 2 cans of black beans, open and drained, just like we did with our corn. And we'll also need a blender or a food processor. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll put 1 1/2 cans of our black beans into our food processor. Remember, we're going to save half of this can of black beans to go and mix and be a chunkier part of our soup. So save half of our can. Now we're just going to add a little bit of this. All we really need to do is add enough in here that it's going to make it easy for us to blend our soup base. So we'll go ahead and we'll put our lid on here. Give it a good blend. Now what we have here is our nice soup base. Now that we have our soup base prepared, we can go ahead and see how our onions and our corn are doing. As you can see, we have little pieces of brown on the onions and the corn. This is about how we want it to look when we start adding the other ingredients. So, what we're going to do now is go ahead and add our soup base, our other half can of black beans. Go ahead and give this a good mix. And once this starts to bubble, we'll go ahead and start introducing our other ingredients into this recipe. While the soup's heating up, we'll go ahead and we'll get our 2 tomatoes cut. First, we'll rinse them. We'll bring them to our cutting board. We'll go ahead and we'll cut off just the end of our tomato here. And we'll cut the rest of it into slices. Remember, keep those fingers out of the way. Now that we have our tomatoes put into slices, we'll go ahead and stack them up. And then we'll slice them again. Once we slice through those, we'll try and turn them sideways. And finally, this will give us our chopped tomato. With the end piece, it gets a little bit more tricky, but we could just put it down here, keep our fingers out of the way, and cut it as small as possible. So while we were cutting our tomato, our soup began to boil. This is when we would like to add the rest of our ingredients. Let's go ahead and get those. So now, we've taken our can of diced green chilies and opened them, so we'll go ahead and add that to the mix. Then we'll go ahead and take our fresh tomatoes. There we go. And we'll go ahead and we'll stir this up. Now, we'll go ahead and we'll let this simmer for about 5 minutes. Our mixture here has been boiling for 5 minutes now, and it's getting pretty thick. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the rest of our vegetable broth, and we're going to return to a boil. This helps us to thin out our soup. If you'd like a thicker soup, you can not add any of the vegetable broth, or if you'd like a thinner soup, you can add even more of the vegetable broth. It's up to you how thick you make this soup. Our soup has now returned to a boil and is ready to be put into a bowl. But first we'll go ahead and we'll turn off the flame. While our soup's cooling down just a bit, we'll go ahead and we'll get our cilantro ready. So as you all know, it comes in a bunch and it's usually sealed up with one of these guys here. I actually like to leave these on because they keep our stems held in place and out of the way. So I'll go ahead and I'll run this under some water and I'll shake it out as much as I can to get off any extra dirt or debris that might be left on this. I'll turn it off, I'll shake it out as much as I can, then I'll take a clean cloth and I'll dab away some of the moisture. Now that it's as clean as we could get it, we can go ahead and add it to our cutting board. Make sure you've dried off your cutting board after all the cutting you've done today so that you don't get your cilantro soggy. We want to leave it as crisp as possible. We'll go ahead and we'll take our knife, we'll bunch this cilantro up as much as we can, keep our fingers out of the way, and we'll cut it down to size. We want about 1/4 of this bunch, but really it's up to you how much you want to put onto your soup. I like a lot, so we'll go ahead and we'll cut this bunch back all the way. Now that we've got it here, we want to make it a little bit finer so it doesn't overpower the flavor of our soup. We'll just go ahead and using a rocking motion, we'll go back over all of this just a couple times to get them into the smallest pieces as possible. It's important to remember that when you're cutting like this, you need to use a rocking motion. If you try to just push it straight down, you'll just smash your cilantro or whatever else you're cutting. Always use a rocking motion, and that's what helps the knife to cut properly. Now our cilantro is prepared. Our next step is to prepare our avocado. So we'll go ahead and we'll give this a quick rinse. We'll make sure we take the sticker off. Wipe that off with a towel. We'll go ahead and we'll lay this on our cutting board. We'll cut through right to the seed. We'll just cut these two in half. We can take our knife and we could remove the seed. Careful. And then what we want to do, we want to take our knife and we want to cut slits into this avocado. You can cut more or less depending on how finely cut you want this. We'll go ahead and we'll take our spoon, we'll take it around the edge of the avocado. Then our avocado will come out in nice cubes. While we were preparing our avocado and our cilantro, our black bean soup has now had a chance to cool down. So we'll go ahead and we'll add the final touches. A little bit of avocado, a little bit of mozzarella cheese, and top it off with a little bit of cilantro. And there you have it, Andrew's famous Southwestern Black Bean Soup. I'd like to thank you guys for participating today and following along, and I hope to see you guys at future Healthy Yucaipa events. Thank you and goodbye.